Those Darn Squirrels and the Cat Next Door by Adam Rubin, illustrated by Daniel Salamari. I chose this book because of the squirrels. William, you gotta love the squirrels. Those darn squirrels and the cat next door. Oh, I think cat's pretty precious there. Old Man Forkwire lived on the edge of the forest, just outside town. He was a terrible grump, and in the wintertime, he was even grumpier than usual. Whenever it snowed, he would shut his eyes tight and think of summer. He missed sunshine, suntan lotion, and weenie roast. But most of all, he missed the birds who flew south when it got cold. During the long, lonely winter months, the only critters left in Forkwater's backyard were the squirrels. Now, not many people know this, but squirrels are the champions of the forest. They are craftier than beavers, smarter than foxes, and swifter than rabbits. They are also full of mischief. They like to be naughty. When it got too cold outside, the squirrels would drop in through Wire's mail slot and visit him at home. They'd warm themselves by the fire and finish the old man's crossword puzzles. When Folkwire woke up, he'd chase them out with a broom. Then he'd shake his old man fist and yell, "Those darn squirrels! Those darn squirrels!" I didn't know that squirrels could do crossword puzzles. Old Man Folkwire's thought spring would come, never come. But eventually, the forest bloomed and the birds returned from their winter vacation. Whirlybirds chomped on thimbleberries, bongo birds snacked on honey snaps, and the flogy bird ate chlorophyll seeds until he got so full he had to lie down. Folkwire danced through the yard with delight. He set his easel and brushes, then he painted the birds till he got blisters on his fingers. Tired and happy, the old man went inside for a quiet afternoon snack. Suddenly, kaboom! Old Man Folkwire spilled cottage cheese all over his suspenders. Kablam! The flugelbird fell out of his nest. Kablooey! The squirrel had to restart their annual chess tournament. Uh-oh. The noise was coming from the house across the stream. It was the sound of a small woman unloading enormous crates and moving in. Folkwire's new neighbor was little old lady Who, the town baker. The only thing sweeter than the pies who bake was the little old lady herself. Everyone in town loved her, but no one could stand her cat, Muffins. He was a real jerk. Who didn't see things that way? She thought Muffins was a cuddly honey bunny, but after the infamous poodle incident, she decided to move to the forest so that her cat could make some new friends. After unpacking her crates, little old lady Who baked a tumbleberry pie. Then she and Muffins went to say hello to their new neighbor. Folkwire despised conversation, so he hid behind the drapes. The squirrels were scared of the cat, so they hid inside the drain pipes. The birds weren't sure why everyone was hiding, but they stuffed themselves down the chimney just to be safe. Eventually, Hugh got tired of waiting for Folkwire to answer the door. She walked around front, pushed the pie through the mail slot, and went home. Normally, Old Man Folkwire hated pies, but this one smelled delicious. He took a deep whiff and closed his eyes. Then he opened them. The squirrels were licking the plate clean. Those darn squirrels, shouted Folkwire. Full and happy, the squirrels stumbled from the house where Muffin ambushed them. The dastardly cat grabbed one squirrel and gave him a wet willy. Then he snatched another and gave her a noogie. Then he tied two squirrels' tails together. Luckily, little old lady who returned before Muffin could do more. She scooped him up and scratched him under the chin. Come on, Chickums. No, come now, Chickums, she cooed. It's time for dinner. You can play with your new friends another day. Next morning, Muffin burst in the yard, terrifying the birds and interrupting Old Man Folkwire's painting. The sneaky cat pounced on an unsuspecting group of squirrels and gave them all wedgies. Not an easy thing to do, because generally squirrels do not wear underpants. The squirrels were furious. The birds flew up through the treetops and refused to come down, and Old Man Folkwire was so upset. He wrote a letter to the mayor to complain about his new neighbor. That night, the squirrels held a meeting to figure out what to do about the cat next door. They ate cheese puffs and drank ginger ale to help them think. Finally, they had it, the perfect plan. I wonder what their plan is. Looks like it involves string, a bird, and when Muffins came over the next day, the birds were feeding peacefully behind a tree. Or feeding, yeah. A wicked smile came over the cat's fluffy face. He wriggled his haunches and launched himself through the air. The frightened bird swooped into the sky and yanked the strings the squirrels had tied to their tail feathers. The string sprang the trap, and the cat was doused with a gallon of freezing cold water. Muffins let out a furious yell. Old Man Folkwire ran outside when he heard the terrible noise. Great googly moogly, he exclaimed. That pathetic wretch is no bigger than a squirrel. It was true. Underneath all of his fur and fuzz, Muffins was nothing but a skinny matink. He lowered his head in embarrassment and sloshed his way home as fast as he could. The squirrels had planned perfectly. They gave each other high fives. The baba birds snickered, the yabba birds chuckled, and the flugel birds enjoyed a nearly gawful Folkwire. Folkwire snapped his suspenders with delight. Those darn squirrels, he said fondly. Old Man Folkwire never warmed up to his new neighbors. He was grumpy after all. But little old Lady Who became quite good chums with the birds and the squirrels. Each Saturday when the bakery closed, she brought all the unsold cakes and pies and cookies home. She set them out on her picnic table, and everyone gathered for a delicious, fun-filled feast. Everyone except the cat next door, who refused to leave the house ever again.